Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. Going to be talking about every movie I watched last week, and overall, it was a pretty decent week. I had a pretty busy week, I would say, even though I was home pretty much all week. Was homesick again this week. Mel and I both were for the most part, and Betty's knocking over my Prime bottles. Sorry. Let's just get into it. Like I said, I had a pretty busy week, and we're going to start it off with the one season of TV that I watched last week. Don't mind my pile of clean clothes and a blanket back there. Let's start it off with The Acolyte, which one of my goals for the year is to catch up on Star Wars. Finally working on that while watching The Acolyte, which I did this weekend, which I actually quite enjoyed this show, a lot more than I thought I was going to. I never really heard any good things about the show, so this was a pleasant surprise, and really, it kind of just adds a little bit more to the conversation of what might be my favorite part of Star Wars is the Jedi good or is the Jedi bad? And obviously, it was a bit of a Star Wars week, which I'm very happy about, which I'll talk about more here soon. But yeah, I mean, watching this kind of just reinforced my thought process and thinking that the Jedi is not always right, and I think that's known, and that should be known, but the Jedi are actually quite wrong at times, and they definitely make the wrong decisions at times, so that's pretty interesting. That's really the best part of this series, I think, although there's some pretty awesome lightsaber duels as well. For the most part, it's pretty solid, I'd say, and I ranked The Acolyte a 78 out of 100, so I enjoyed it. Well, let's move on to the movies, and one of the themes of the week, a slight theme, was Guy Ritchie movies, who I do have a goal, or who is one of my goals, to go through his filmography this year. And my least favorite of the week was King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, which I ranked a 51 out of 100. I feel like most of Guy Ritchie's movies have a very distinct editing style, and it typically works because it's not like these action epic grandiose movies. I feel like it kind of hinders this movie, unfortunately, the way that it's edited, and sometimes I found it just hard to follow and a little bit confusing. I wouldn't really say anything from this movie was bad, and typical for any Guy Ritchie movie, there's parts where it's just a character kind of explaining something, which I typically like that, but it just didn't really work for me, I guess, in this case. Not really sure what's so different about this one than I guess maybe some of his other films, but yeah. Anyways, let's move on to my other Guy Ritchie of the week, which was Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. Sorry. Which I rated 55 out of 100. Big points for this movie, because there's really only a few things that I can remember from this movie, which Josh Hartnett is one of them, who I really love. Hugh Grant, also really awesome in this movie, and I love the final dialogue scene with the blowing up building in the back. It's just very iconic, and it's really quite cool, and yeah, I enjoyed that. There isn't a whole lot to love about this movie, but this is definitely like a very dad movie, I would say. I don't think it's bad by any means, but, just not my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. 55 out of 100. Well, let's move on to another director that I watched this week, which was James Mangold, with Girl Interrupted, which I ranked a 70 out of 100. This was an interesting character study on, really, I guess, a few different women, and I don't really know what to say about this movie. I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it. I just don't really know what to add to this, and I don't think I'm necessarily the target audience, but I can definitely appreciate the genius that James Mangold puts into this. And definitely the care, and I think the passion into this as well. So, really quite good. All I wrote in my review was that I didn't know Angelina Jolie could act, and truthfully, I think the only thing I've seen Angelina Jolie in is Eternals. Like, I literally can't think of anything else that I've seen her in, and I just didn't know she was as great of an actor as she is, because she was phenomenal in this movie. but everyone really was fantastic in Girl Interrupted. So I definitely recommend it. This is one of James Mangold's most popular movies, so definitely check it out. Now, let's move on to, like I said, one of the themes of the week, which is Star Wars. Starting it off with my least favorite of the movies, which is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which I ranked a 71 out of 100. Now, this is the first time I'm going through each of the movies ever since 2022. So it's been about 3 years now at this point, which is really sad because whenever someone asks what my favorite franchise is, I always say Star Wars. And truthfully, it's been too long since I've revisited this franchise, so I'm excited to do it. And this time I get to do it with Mel. I'm going to be showing Mel all the movies. I'm going to try to show her some of the TV shows, more so some episodes from TV. And I think next year I want to do a full run through of Star Wars myself, from timeline order from start to finish, which I've never done, and I think that'd be pretty fun to do. And really, I just want to catch up on Star Wars. That's one of my goals this year. That's why I watch Acolyte. Anyways, Attack of the Clones was a pleasant surprise to revisit because it was a lot better than I remembered it being. I was really worried about this rating. I didn't think it was going to be very high, and I mean, I still don't love this movie, but I ranked it a 71 out of 100. I definitely thought it was better than I thought it was going to be. But it is my least favorite of the Star Wars movies so far, at least. So 71 out of 100 for Attack of the Clones. And let's actually move on to the Clone Wars, which I ranked a 73 out of 100. I know a lot of people don't love this movie because it's basically just an elongated Clone Wars Season 1 episode, which is fair, but I quite like Anakin's relationship with Ahsoka, who we, of course, get introduced to in this movie, which I didn't watch this one with Mel. This isn't really essential viewing apart from Anakin and Ahsoka meeting, which I did show Mel that. But yeah, anyways, I really just like the banter between, our three leads of Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. It's just good fun. And overall, I mean, yeah, I guess could this have been shorter into a Clone Wars episode? Maybe, or even a 2 or 3 episode arc, probably, but I enjoyed it. Ranked it a 73 out of 100. Let's move on to one of 2 Martin Scorsese movies of the week, which is actually the end of my Scorsese watch through. So glad to have finished that finally this week. So let's start with Silence, which I ranked a 73 out of 100, and I felt like it was a pretty appropriate time to watch this movie because Easter was last weekend, and around where I am and where I grew up, same place. Here a lot of people consider Easter to be like one of the most, religious holidays, which I don't really know why. I'm not religious in any way, so I did find it kind of hard to create a connection or a link to this movie because of that. Like, the stakes never really felt high to me because of Christianity throughout the film, which that's never something I've been involved in, I guess, in any way. So, like, I'm not religious at all. I've never been to church. I don't even know if I've been in a church before. I think I've been in a church once for a wedding and once for a funeral. Like, there's nothing in my childhood or adulthood now that's religious, so that's kind of interesting. And maybe if I was religious, I'd be able to connect with this movie a little bit more. Maybe I'd enjoy it more. Obviously, it's still quite genius, and with some really tremendous acting performances, most notably Andrew Garfield, and Scorsese behind the camera is always pretty great. So, 73 out of 100 for Silence. Let's move on to my last of James Mangold's filmography, which was Walk the Line, which I ranked a 76 out of 100. Learned a lot about Johnny Cash, a lot of stuff I did not know. Seemed like he was kind of an asshole, and I mean, that seems to be a pretty common thread with a lot of musicians. They just, they get famous and they become assholes, which, I mean, I don't know what that's like, obviously, but that's interesting, I guess. And I did ask in my Letterboxd review, are there any musical or biopics about musical artists that they're not just a complete douchebag by the end of the movie? If so, please recommend some because truthfully, I don't know of any, and I'd love to see that because I don't know. Well, let's move on to where the movies start to get really great throughout the week. Starting it off with So I Married an Axe Murderer, which this one was kind of just a movie I threw on. It was something I wanted to watch. It was something in my watch list. Plus, it was something from, I believe, the 90s, right? Which one of my goals this year is to branch out into the last century a little bit more. So I kind of need to work on that because I haven't done a whole lot of that, to be fair. So it was nice to watch this old comedy, which I had a great time with. I think Mike Myers is very funny, and I really enjoyed the comedy throughout this movie. I laughed a lot, and it kept me engaged, which I really enjoyed. Ranked it at 81 out of 100. Let's move on to Hidden Figures, which I also ranked at 81 out of 100. And Mel and I watched this week. A pretty great movie, obviously based on a true story. Mel and I, the entire movie, we just kept snapping, because the women were womening, and women are better than men. That's just the true fact of life. And if you disagree, then you are wrong. So, this was a pretty special time to be a part of. I think seeing boundaries being pushed. I think back in the 50s and 60s, it's nice to see that, and I love a biopic with Kevin Costner. It's just they always hit for me. So I love Kevin Costner, one of my favorite actors, and yeah, this is a great movie. 81 out of 100. Let's move on to yet another one. 81 out of 100 again for episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which sadly this ranking is going down each time I watch it. But this is this is a really underrated movie in my opinion. I think this is a very great Star Wars movie, which I really, really love. I did find this time it to be a little bit slower, and I still just fucking cannot stand Jar Jar. He's just so fucking annoying, man. I can't stand him. Mel really hated him too, so not many people like Jar Jar, I don't think, but fuck, he was just so dreadfully annoying each time I watched this movie. But obviously this is a pretty... again, in my opinion, it's a pretty awesome movie. It might be the best dialogue out of the prequel trilogy, and I mean, it's still not great. None of them are really that great, to be fair, but yeah, I ranked Phantom Menace an 81 out of 100. Great. Well, let's move on to Big Hero 6, which was a first-time watch for me. Mel and I watched this together, which I ranked it an 86 out of 100, and I believe Mel ranked it an 84. Now, this was a pretty sweet movie. The death I knew about, it was something I've heard about plenty of times, one of the most emotional deaths in Disney. It didn't really hit me, maybe because I knew about it. Kind of sucked, I guess, for that part, but this was just a really interesting movie with, really, I mean, some pretty decent characters, but really, I just loved the like kind of simple, kind of grounded, not so grounded story, I guess, and the animation's pretty sweet. Obviously, we have some pretty awesome superhero powers as well, and Baymax is just really, really amazing. So, 86 out of 100. Let's move on to, I believe, the top 3 of the week now, starting it off with The Wolf of Wall Street, which I ranked in 88 out of 100, which now has become my second favorite Scorsese, or my third favorite Scorsese, I believe, sorry. So obviously quite high on the list. And this is a really great movie. It's a very action-packed movie, even though there's not really any action scenes. It's just a very quick 3-hour movie, I think is the best way to describe it. It's fast-paced, it's a lot of fun, and it's really, really funny. If you haven't watched The Wolf of Wall Street, I would recommend it. This is my first time watching it, and I had a really good time with it, so I would definitely recommend it. 88 out of 100. Well, let's move on to number 2, The Avengers. This was something Mel wanted to watch because she seen some clips on TikTok, I think last week, and she ended up wanting to watch it, so we watched it together. We might rewatch Age of Ultron now. Love me some Ultron, but yeah, this movie is also just still very amazing. I ranked it a 92 out of 100. Still really enjoy this movie, although it also went down in the ratings from a 96 down to a 92, so it's gone down quite a fair amount. And yeah, I mean, I still think this is amazing nonetheless. 92 out of 100. And let's move on to number one, my favorite movie of the week, which was Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which I finally got to watch with Mel, showing her the prequel trilogy. And we got to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters for the 20th anniversary. And I seen it twice. I seen it Friday, and I seen it today or yesterday for you guys. I seen it Friday and Sunday. And even though I was sick, there was absolutely nothing leaving me from going to see this movie in theaters. It's still in theaters for the next couple days. I did have plans to go see it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to go see it again. Kind of sucks. I wanted to see it a third time, but that's okay. This is my favorite Star Wars movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 10, and it's been kind of interchangeable as my number 4 or 5, maybe number 3 movie. I really love this movie, and yeah, Revenge of the Sith is great. I'm hoping Mel enjoyed it. She did rank each movie higher than the last. She didn't mind Phantom Menace. She liked Attack of the Clones. I think she definitely enjoyed Revenge of the Sith the most, so that's nice. And I'm excited to see what she thinks of Solo and Rogue One, which will probably be up next for this week, and hopefully the original trilogy. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts on this busy week. I watched a lot of big name movies this week as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.